From the control room of the TARDIS, it's the IGN Digigods. Now, here are two men who've never been to Metabellus 3, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
A very appropriate intro because I got us some Doctor Who to talk about today, Mark.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, I do. I got us some Doctor Who. I am going to shove some British television down your unholy gullet.
Here's what I want.
What do you want?
I want to take a vacation on the week that you do China Beach and Doctor Who and a whole bunch of British crap no one cares about. That'll be my ultimate show.
That's too much fun. Just too much grand fun. Seriously, do you feel like with, Cannes out of the way and just kind of, some of the summer movies getting out of the way, and by the way, what, Fast and the Furious 6, seriously?
Yeah, it's holding pretty well.
It's amazing. Just
holding pretty well.
I guess that franchise has, that thing almost went straight to video. Did you know that?
What, the original?
No, this one, the number 6.
Why would number 6 go straight to video when number 5 did well?
Because, that's just how they think. There's no accounting for the psychotic behavior at studios. Nobody knows. But anyhow, no, the summer movie season is...
it's almost time for Superman.
Yeah.
It's almost time for Superman.
Anyway.
It's going to be good. No, it's not.
We'll see.
Superman?
We'll see.
You're thinking it's going to be good, and you don't want to admit it.
Once I see it, I will be absolutely honest with everybody. All I know is, if in point of fact, Krypton is not destroyed, that's dumb.
Who cares?
It has to be destroyed. That's
Why?
the whole point. Because he's the last. He's the last survivor.
Well, but okay, maybe it's not destroyed, but
he's just lost.
Maybe he's just lost.
He's just lost.
Maybe.
Darn. Maybe he can find somebody to walk him home again.
Don't judge it till you see it.
I know. Whatever.
Look how much they reinvented the Star Trek canon, and you love those movies.
Yeah. Yuck. All right, we got. Do we any stories, any news, anything of significance to talk about that's noteworthy? Titles coming out, things to announce. I was going to ask you, do you feel like Oscar season is shaping up? Are you looking forward to all the stuff that came out of Cannes?
Well, I'm looking forward to the one that won the Palme d'Or, of course.
Of course.
That'll be an instant front runner.
I'm looking forward to Inside Llewyn Davis. I'm looking forward to Coen Brothers.
That's going to be good.
Looking forward to Nebraska.
Ooh, Bruce Dern.
I know.
We grew up on Bruce Dern.
I'm looking forward to the new Oscar Farhadi, The Past.
Yes.
Because, Bernice Bejo just won Best Actor.
Okay, here's the thing. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's see what else will be good. Okay, David O. Russell's new film comes out at the end of the year, American Hustle. Might be good. Nebraska, as you say, might be good.
James Gray's The Immigrant.
That's right.
At which time I can tell all my James Gray stories.
New Scorsese, Wolf of Wall Street comes out.
You do realize, it's so weird to me. I'm going to tell James Gray story right now. It's so weird to me when I think back. My first year in film school, I took time out because Brian Burke, who I introduced to Matt, who introduced him to JJ, and now Brian Burke is executive producer of Star Trek, and he runs JJ's company, and he's big cheese. Brian calls me and says, "Come on down and help me shoot my 290 because the 290 is the first Super 8 film that you make in film school." And Brian got into USC at the time, so he was first year at USC. I may have been my second year at UCLA anyway, and Brian lived with his parents only a few blocks away from UCLA. So I just I got out of class and I shoot down, and he's setting up this stuff for some Halloween story that he's telling these kids on Halloween. And here I am with the guy who will be the future executive producer of Lost and Star Trek, having absolutely no clue that he's Brian, right? He's just little Brian, and he introduces me to his cinematographer, Bubba, James Gray, and James is just utterly malcontent with the lack of preparation that Brian has there, and James is just like he doesn't want to be there. He's rolling his eyes. Funniest man I'd ever met to that point. The driest sense of humor, utterly unbelievable. And so flash forward 25 some odd, 22 some odd years or whatever, and look where they are. Look where I am.
All I know
I'm sitting here with you. What did I do wrong?
Is that if you had said to Brian, little baby Brian back then, do you realize in 20 years you are going to executive produce a $190 million movie version of Star Trek? I don't think... Well, first of all, he wouldn't believe you because back then movies didn't cost $190 million.
Let me tell you, if I'd have told Brian that at the time, Brian would have said, "Damn right I am." He would have. He fully expected
That's
to.
good. That
He
means he
fully
has
expected
confidence.
to. Yeah.
Wade, they're vacuuming. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it. It's
Well-
wonderful. We're a professional show. Okay.
They're
so
vacuuming the studio. The studio where we tape our show is being vacuumed.
We've got a Vox box today. And by the way, we love the people who send in the Vox boxes. We really do. But there's no, not yet. But it's a small group of you. We want other people to speak to us as well. We love the people who are A personalities out there and they ask us questions. But we need some Vox boxes from people who've never sent us one before. So please send us your Vox boxes to gods@digigods.com. If you have a computer, if you have a microphone, and every computer has a microphone, just go ahead and send it to us. Even if you don't know how to separate the video from the audio, that's okay. We can do that. Put a bag over your head or hide yourself from the camera or whatever if you don't want to be on camera, and just send it in. We'll strip the video out and we'll use the audio. I can do that. The modern technology, the tools are amazing. So
the vacuum's getting louder.
That's fine. It's part of the show. It's part of the show, and then you can go out and you can bludgeon the person who's using the vacuum cleaner. You can bludgeon the cleaning crew, and then we'll capture it on the show, and it'll become like a spy thing.
Will you also capture my trial?
Yeah,
and conviction.
Why not? It'd be
Wow.
awesome. We'll put it all on the show. It'll be reality podcast. Anyway. No, gods@digigods.com. We need more cool Vox boxes from people who've never asked us anything before. We need new personalities to immortalize on our show. Mark, how about if I crank through some television, some British television?
Oh, you know how much
I know.
love the British television.
I know, and then we'll let you get to other regular television. Spy Series 2. I can't remember if we actually talked about Series 1 on this show or not.
Season 1.
Darren Boyd and Robert Lindsay. This is Robert Lindsay's a really funny guy. This is a very clever and funny British television show. This is the second season of it. It is it's about a guy. It's about a father and his son basically, and the dad becomes. It's a little bit like what's the American show about the guy Ted or something? He was Ed, or was it Ed?
Who?
The guy who becomes a spy inadvertently.
Ed
What was that show?
Jones?
I don't remember. Anyway.
Wait, what? Wait, is this like a drama on TV?
Yeah, no, it was a comedy. It was a comedy about that guy who became a spy.
Oh, it was on NBC, right? Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, you're the TV guy. I knew that you'd be all over that. Anyway, well, this is a little bit similar, except it adds a father-son dynamic into it, and it's by the time we get to this second series here, it is perfectly adorable. Top notch, the Bletchley Circle, Cracking a Killer's Code. Originally aired on PBS here. This is terrific, about a quartet of women who had done a great job as code breakers during World War II. And now in the early 1950s, they, even though they're kind of becoming their housewives and mothers and stuff again, they get back together again to solve a serial killer, a series of crimes by a serial killer. Pretty great, really top flight stuff. I beautifully directed, wonderfully written, and very well acted with Anna Maxwell. Anna Maxwell Martin, I guess is her complete name. Rachel Sterling, Sophie Rundle, and Julie Graham. I am utterly unfamiliar with any of them, and that's what I love about British television. It just always exposes so many great new talents. George Gently. This is one of those great British detective shows. Takes place in the 1960s in England, and the 1960s at the time just a funky, cool place. And this show has gotten all kinds of awards, and these are really very well-written mysteries. They have a boxed set now with the first 4 series on it, which is exactly what you need to get yourself into what has just recently been released, is the 5th series, George Gently Series 5. Martin Shaw is just a first-rate actor. He just, the former Scotland Yard guy who he's just gritty, and he knows how to find his way to every single clue to solve every single crime. The British always amaze me. They just did these crime shows and these detective shows never, ever, ever get old. A Fine Romance, the complete collection, finally out from Acorn. This is just wonderful. Judi Dench and Michael Williams, who were married, in point of fact, play husband and wife, and it is just...
They had sexual relations.
They did. This is just one of the... most people know Judi Dench from...
James Bond.
As time... Well, James Bond, but on television as time goes by. That was sort of...
oh, yeah.
Time Goes By is just a wonderful sitcom, but this predates that. This is a precursor to that, and, Michael Williams died not too long after that. He was originally in Educating Rita. You might remember him in that. He passed.
Oh, that's a terrific film.
Terrific film. So he passed away after this series, and Judi Dench has been a widow ever since. But it's wonderful to see them together, to just know that they were a couple, and great chemistry. They have a daughter together, by the way.
Name is Shecky.
She's also an actress. A very good actress, actually. Surprised she hasn't really gotten bigger roles. Anyway, so many awards for this fantastic series. Highly recommended on that flight. Let's see. The First Churchills. A lot of people don't realize that Winston Churchill was not he comes from a very long line of distinguished Churchills in England. I mean, his family history goes way back. And Winston Churchill, of course, is an amazing historian of British history. As a result, I've got like 5 of his books, which are unbelievable to read. Extraordinary stuff. And he wrote a biography about his family tree, going all the way back to the first Duke and Duchess of Marlborough, and that is the story that is recounted here. And it is extremely sharp, really well-written stuff, very nicely put together. And especially considering the time, this was 1969, BBC production, not usually, the television video quality was usually kind of crappy back then, but it's really very nice. The writing it excels, and what it doesn't, what it lacks in visual flair, it makes up for in the quality of the writing. Let's see, Vexed, Series 2, with Toby Stephens and Miranda Raisin. Raison would be better, because Raisin makes her sound like she's been in the sun too long. Anyway, this is Vexed. It's kind of tries to do the moonlighting thing, and it's perfectly fine. You got a new actress here in Miranda Raisin, who is okay. I still quite don't entirely understand the lingering appeal of this show. I think it loses a little bit in the second series of the chemistry, but it's perfectly fine. Let's see, Mark.
Yes, I'm not bailing you out.
No,
you
I'm
love
not.
your British TV. I'm not going to stop you.
I'm not asking to be bailed out. I'm just calling for your affection and your love.
Wade, you always have my affection and my love.
Top Gear 19. You love the Top Gear. Come on, give it up.
I know. People love Top Gear. Kids in their Top Gear.
This is the 19th season of the amazing Top Gear, not the American crap version, but the British series, the 19th season, which also includes the Africa special, which is pretty fantastic. You know what? I got to tell you, Jeremy Clarkson is my hero. If there were such a thing as reincarnation and I could come back as anybody, I'd want to come back as Jeremy Clarkson. Seriously. Just what a life that guy has. James May, of course, is another big figure in British television, hosts all kinds of shows, but this is all about Jeremy Clarkson. He just kills it, and there's some fantastic cars here. The Aston Martin Vanquish is one of the most beautiful things that
I love
ever.
Aston
Oh
Martins.
my!
That's my dream car.
Oh my gosh, it's just incredible. It's just a gorgeous
Dream
thing.
car.
Unbelievable. And then you also have a thing here called the Pagani Huayra. And I'm sure I'm destroying the name of that car, but it shouldn't even be a car. It's like a freaking rocket. It's unbelievable.
You know it. That's why we love it.
Yep, totally. And then we also have The Politician's Wife. Mark?
Yes, what happened?
I'm going to give you one guess what a movie called The Politician's Wife is all about.
It's about a wacky robot who goes back in time.
Exactly. That's precisely it. No, this is one of those many horrible scandals that you have in British politics, and British politics is loaded with scandals. Just wonderful stuff. This isn't actually a real story, but it's a little bit like Scandal in the U.S. Have you watched Scandal?
You know what? I'm surprised that show is such a big hit. It really has taken off.
It's taken off like crazy.
No, it has. It didn't seem like much to me, but people are digging it.
There you go. Well, anyway, a little bit of the thing here. There's it's always the conservative politicians who get into these scandals, at least in fiction and in fact over in the UK. And here, Minnie Driver plays an escort who, she's taken him down. Oh, Minnie Driver. I love Minnie Driver. She lives here, by the way.
What, like here in where we are right now?
No, like
in the studio.
She lives in Malibu.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, this is it's a little bit salacious, but somehow it feels like more quality than it is. It really it's not like a news story or anything, but it just feels fresh and cool and British. And then we get to our Doctor Who. Now we have a classic Doctor Who from the Peter Davison years, which were back in the 80s. This is the Visitation which is actually one of the better ones, this special edition of the Visitation. Lots of cool extras on here, including an audio commentary that includes tons of people from the cast, as well as Peter Davison. And this goes back to the time of the Great Plague in England, which is really cool. And it's a good, you want to time travel, that's a time to go back, right? And especially when you discover that there's like an alien plot going on at the time of the Great Plague. Pretty cool. Really dig that. And then if you're a fan of the more recent incarnation of Doctor Who, we got a couple of great ones here. Series 7 Part 2, which is one of the Matt Smith shows. Matt Smith, of course. I like Matt Smith as a doctor. I do. I've never been a big fan of the younger doctors, which has been kind of the direction things have been going ever since the 80s. But Matt Smith has kind of a thing going. He feels like kind of nerdy and cool enough. I don't know. I feel a little bit better. Anyway, there's you got the Cybermen coming back in this one, and in a really cool way. Suddenly, they don't look like these cheesy guys wearing really bad Mylar suits like they did back in the 70s and the 80s. No, the Cybermen now look suddenly kind of high-tech and cool. Anyway, Series 7 Part 2. That is on Blu-ray, and gosh, it looks good on Blu-ray. The BBC Blu-ray stuff is just fabulous. And then we also have this very, very special Doctor Who, The Snowmen. This is really, really super cool. This is a nice Christmas special to scare the children. This takes place on Christmas Eve in 1892, and it'll scare the children. It really will. So that's pretty great Christmas special, just to let the kids and the family know that Christmas time sometimes is when evil inhabits the world, and you need the time-traveling doctor to save you. Not Santa Claus.
Evil always inhabits the world.
Time-traveling doctor. Mark, take us away with regular television. American television. What's on television in the United States these days?
My God. The Newsroom, Season 1. This is the new Aaron Sorkin vomitous mess of dialogue and uninteresting characters who do nothing but spout their political views. But that being said, I do like this show because this show falls into the category of I'd rather watch a show that tries for a lot and doesn't quite get there than a show that is tries for crap and succeeds wildly. And that's where we have the Newsroom. Now, Sorkin, after
I saw some episodes of this. I thought it was like the best and the worst of Sorkin all in one show. You know what I mean?
Well, Sorkin could very well go off and do movies forever. The guy's already won an Oscar for Best Screenplay, and he can go off and write every big movie out there. But instead, he'd rather go on HBO, and I respect that. I think TV, part of the reason why TV is cooler than movies right now is because TV has people like Aaron Sorkin. So I get it. It's all about the comings and goings and difficulties of running a 24-hour news operation, of which I worked at MSNBC. I had 2 tours of duty at MSNBC, so I know what that's like. And it's very, obviously the conversations are a little hyper-real in the Newsroom, but a lot of the details are exactly the same. This is with Jeff Daniels and Emily Mortimer and a lot of interesting other people, including Alison Pill, who was so great in the Woody Allen film, the one where he goes back in time.
Midnight in Paris.
That's right.
Yeah.
Terrific in that. Sam Waterston. Anyway, this is good stuff. If you want to see some very intelligent dialogue and is spouted by characters who are not that interesting, you can go with the Newsroom. And
nice.
Season 2 of the Newsroom is going to be coming in July.
Nice.
It's all good.
We got a bunch of stuff also from CBS and Paramount. The CBS Paramount collaboration. They're all part of the Viacom umbrella. Viacom. And so all the television stuff always comes from CBS, all the vintage classic television stuff, which, interestingly enough, was part of an article on The Wrap recently about the behind the scenes of the falling out between JJ and Paramount over Star Trek. Part of the problem being that the Star Trek movies belong with the Paramount Studios entity, and the Paramount television shows and all their licensing are run through the CBS television entity. And there isn't a lot of communication between the two. So if you want to do anything with Star Trek of a global nature, you've got to go to the studio and get them to sign off on it, and then you got to go over to CBS and get them to sign off on it. Not everybody wanted to sign off. Not everybody was on the same page. Much easier over at Disney with Star Wars, where all you need to do is just say, yeah, go ahead and do that. So anyway, here's what we have from the whole CBS thing over there at Paramount. We've got more of these classic shows, Rawhide and Perry Mason. Perry Mason, The Final Season, Volume 1. So it's not the final release of the final season. It's the first part of the final release of the final season. Season 9, the final season, Volume 1. And you're thinking, geez, finally, how 9 years of Perry Mason? That guy, why didn't we just have, seriously? But you know what? It's some interesting stuff here. A lot of great supporting performances in here. And I love the fact that one of the guys here is Lieutenant Steve Drum, played by Richard Anderson, Mark.
Yeah.
Richard Anderson, who would go on to fame and greatness and
As
immortality
Oscar.
as Oscar frickin' Goldman on the
Oscar
$6 Million Man. And he's absolutely better there than he is on Perry Mason. But, you know, he's one of those old-time guys who just brought this sense of seriousness. And I love watching these actors. I'm not a huge fan of all the Perry Mason. I think it gets old after a while. It's kind of the same thing over and over. It's a lot like Matlock. But something about these guys, these TV actors from that era, they brought it, you know? It's just something. Every show in the 1960s, the actors were just such freaking pros. They weren't cast because they were good looking, because they were young, because they were hot. They just nailed it. And then, of course, Rawhide, Volume 1 of the 6th season and Volume 2 of the 6th season. It all should be one. I really, really, really wish the people at Paramount and CBS would get their act together on that. Clint Eastwood blazed a trail on Rawhide, and that's what really started his career. And between these two volumes, you get 30 episodes, which always amazes me because 30 episodes in a single season was the norm back in the 1960s. And somehow by the time you get to the 1970s, we're whittling that back to, 22, 23 episodes. But, dude, they used to do 30 episodes. They didn't have nonlinear ed. They cut these things on film. They shot them on film. They edited them on film. They did 30 episodes in a season. I mean, that's really impressive.
It is impressive. Now you get 13 and you're out.
Gosh. They nailed it. And they're all high quality. Anyway, tons of really, really good stuff in a lot of these shows. I mean, it's it's kind of the same thing over and over and over again, but wow, you get some really, really great guest stars, and Clint's always just good for loads of fun. Rowdy Yates, damn it. Rowdy Yates for president. Not really now. Now Rowdy Yates is old and gravelly and get off my lawn.
Speaking of old and gravelly,
Back in the day.
we have two reality shows from the History Channel. Good folks at the History Channel. We have Ice Road Truckers season Badrillion. This thing just keeps going. This is season 6 of Ice Road Truckers.
What does this have to do with history?
I don't know.
Why do they even call it the History Channel at this point?
Well, why do they call Bravo Bravo?
I don't know.
Why do they call MTV MTV?
Good point.
Anyway, this is a bunch of veteran truckers as they drive around big trucks around Canada. It's what they do. There's lots of ice crossings and tires blow out
dangerous,
and,
deadly, treacherous crap.
and whatever. It's a bunch of ice truckers.
I know.
Season 1 of Mountain Men. This is another History Channel show. History Channel becoming very good at just finding these people who just have weird jobs or weird pursuits, and they make shows out of them. Here we have a bunch of guys living off the grid in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. And they don't really live super off the grid because they do drive around in snowmobiles. And you know what? If you drive around in a snowmobile, you are not off the grid. There's actually a documentary, I think it was called Off the Grid, about these guys who literally live off the grid.
What do you mean?
They have no electricity. They have no means to support themselves.
Seriously?
Yes, they literally live off the grid. And those guys were fascinating.
Creepy.
Less fascinating would be Mountain Men.
I am a huge fan of,
Cocaine?
Carry on. Mountain Men.
You are not.
No.
I'm done with Mountain Men.
I know.
Oh,
You're done? You're done?
You want me to keep going?
No. I thought I just want to make sure.
This is a well-rehearsed show.
Okay. I thought you had something else to add.
I can talk about Pretty Little Liars, but
No.
wait, now or later.
In a moment. I'm a big fan of the Teletubbies. I'm not going to talk about Teletubbies because I want to contrast that with the friggin' people who make scary crap like Yo Gabba Gabba, which is not Teletubbies. It's creepy and scary, and Teletubbies is cute and adorable and psychedelic. So my daughter will be watching Teletubbies. She will not be watching Yo Gabba Gabba, which brings me to the Aquabats Super Show, Season 1, which was created by the same people who created Yo Gabba Gabba. It is not as deeply disturbing, but it kind of takes their whole sensibilities into the superhero realm. And I don't know what to think of this. It's kind of weird. It's like they're superheroes and they're a rock band, and it doesn't really make any sense. But somehow, I guess this has become popular. So the Aquabats Super Show, 13 episodes, season 1, kind of disturbing. There are commentaries on here, which I'm not quite sure why. I don't think kids want to listen to the commentaries, and I certainly know the adults aren't going to want to listen to the commentaries. So that freaks me out a little bit. The other thing that freaks me out is that this was originally aired on the Hub network. Mark, I don't know what the Hub network is. Am I just
kids?
Am I hopelessly out of touch?
Well, you have a daughter now, so you should know what the Hub network is.
Oh dear. Carry on.
Pretty Little Liars is a show that I would love to watch if I was a pervert. That's not true. These girls are all of age. Anyway, I'm just saying that'd be funny. ABC Family. This is season 3. This is the show that follows these girls as they, there's all sorts of like shifting alliances and backstabbing and who was who was A. It was like the big deal in season 2 that has now been paid off for season 3. By the way, it's Mona was the elusive A.
Oh,
she's been the one who's
I've been wondering.
She's been the one who's been like torturing all the main characters and making their lives miserable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Anyway, season 3 contains a whole bunch of special features, including sort of a background on A and what it means to be A and why somebody is A, and more secrets about this town that they live in. Alternate endings as a gag reel and some unaired scenes, cutting room floor scenes. Pretty Little Liars, ABC Family, not for smart people.
Yeah,
I didn't mean that. Not for people of a certain age or wisdom level. But
that's great.
What can I say? Just not that great. Breaking Bad, 5th season of Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's coming to an end soon, and you know what? This show has just been consistently fantastic. This is a great show. People love this show. Bryan Cranston blowing away his persona in the sitcom he did that I can't remember anymore because that's how long it's been. What was it? What's the sitcom this guy did? It was the thing with the. It was the thing where he does the thing with the guy.
Yeah.
God, it was so long ago. It was with the kid, Frankie Muniz. What's his name? Don't stop the recording. What's his
Frankie Muniz in
it was like
Oscar in the Place. It was one of those titles. It's one of those friggin' things. Dude, we have too much stuff floating around in our heads. This is not something we should be ashamed of. That show,
it was like Frankie Saved the World.
That show was a million years ago.
Wait,
Who cares?
I'm not going to stop.
Did I ever tell you?
No, don't stop. I'm going to keep going. It's like Frankie Saved the World or Steve Does a Crazy Thing. What's it?
Find it. Listeners right now are screaming at the top of their lungs because we can't remember the name of the show. Here's the thing that always freaked me out about Frankie Muniz.
Oh my God! Wait a second. What is it?
Malcolm
in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah. Frankie Muniz. This is what always creeped me about. When he was like 12 or 13, he looked like David Cassidy at age 30. If you go online, I ask any of our listeners to do this. Go online, find a picture of David Cassidy when he was 30 or even 40, and then look at a picture of Frankie Muniz, same person. It's freaking weird.
That guy is
wrong.
so rich.
It's genetically just a complete mutation. It's not. It shouldn't happen.
Anyway, Walter White's been doing some very illegal things. He's trying to clean up his life in season 5. Get rid of all the evidence of the crimes he committed in the previous season involving Gus.
There we go.
Played by Giancarlo Esposito, who I never liked actually. But there you go. Show gets better. I think it's ending at the right time. It's going to end at a peak without overstaying its welcome, and it's good stuff. Good cast, including obviously Cranston and Bob Odenkirk's in it, which is a great piece of casting. Jonathan Banks, who of course we all remember from 48 Hours. Yeah, Jonathan Banks. He's still got a career. He's in this show too as Mike. Anyway, final episode started airing in August of Breaking Bad. I'm sure there will be a box set of the entire series, but if you must have it now, 5th season is now available.
Awesome. So, Justified has sort of been an interesting show in the sense that it has sparked this kind of postmodern, neo-Western sensibility that a lot of people like. And now we're getting shows that are attempting to replicate that. And one of those is Longmire, which I'm not hugely familiar with. At least I wasn't before we got this. I was like, what the hell's that? And this is the first season of Longmire, which is now out. And this is on A&E. And season 2 starts up this summer, and I'm going to try to catch some of the episodes as they air the first time around. It's not a bad show, actually. It doesn't feel like a Justified knockoff. It feels like it's kind of its own thing, and part of that is because it is actually based on a series of novels by Craig Johnson, these kind of, pulpy Western mystery novels. And not bad, actually. Walt Longmire is the title, the lead character. played by Robert Taylor. He's a sheriff. He's up in Wyoming, and that adds a really kind of a cool backdrop to the whole thing. Lou Diamond Phillips is here. He's getting a little bit grizzled. Still looks younger than his years, but it's a decent cast, decent writing, interesting characters. It has that first season thing where you feel like everything's kind of settling in, and I'm willing to cut it some slack, see where it goes in the second season.
Wade, what can I say? Red Widow is a show on ABC that got canceled after one season, and it's now out on DVD. I like how they say the complete first season, which is great because it's actually the complete whole damn series. And I say this stars Radha Mitchell. I've always kind of liked Radha Mitchell. She never really took off. I
love Radha Mitchell. She will. She has. You know what? Something will click for her. It will. I swear to you, something will click for her. She's really good.
Well, she's better moving along because she's pushing 40, and that's a bad age if you're an actress, unfortunately. But Red Widow, she plays a housewife who lives in North Carolina. Husband is a mafia guy, gets killed. She's got to continue the family business, protect the family. Didn't last that long. It does, however, have a good cast, including, by the way, Clifton Collins Jr. Clifton Collins Jr. is in the show. I saw Clifton Collins Jr. yesterday at the Whole Foods in Sherman Oaks.
Really? Did
yes,
you?
I did. Yes, I did.
Wow.
It's one of those weird celebrity. I mean, he's not a big celebrity, but one of those weird sightings where it's like, yeah, he was like Traffic. He was one of the bad guys in JJ's first Star Trek film. One of those weird celebrity sightings. Like, I'm looking at him, thinking, you're an actor, or maybe I went to high school with you. He's looking at me, going, why is that creepy guy looking at me? Does he recognize me? Is he going to stab me? Is he just wanting to know who I am? And it was kind of that back and forth looky thing. Yeah. And then eventually I stopped doing that.
You know, I was really, really sad when Steve Irwin died. And were you at the screening of the Croc Hunter movie, the feature film?
Never saw it.
You never saw it? Okay. Not a bad film, actually. And I was at the Cinerama Dome when we had the press screening of that, up in the balcony, and Steve Irwin was there wearing his whole little, khaki outfit, the shorts and the whole deal, which I guess he never took off. That's just, with the boots and the khaki.
That's his uniform.
That's his uniform. And he came over and he stood up on top of a couple of chairs on the balcony, just like the crazy man that he was, and he thanked everybody for coming to see my film. And he did his whole little Aussie thing, and he waved his hands around, and he said, I'm so happy to have this movie. And you could tell he was just this big kid who loved to play with animals and wrestle with crocodiles and just do crazy things. And honestly, I think part of the reason that a lot of people loved the movie was because I just loved him before the movie. It just created all this goodwill. And then he died, and it was really, really sad, and it was just a horrible way to go. And I am convinced that Nick Baker has no idea what happened to Steve Irwin. Probably doesn't know who he is, doesn't know how he died, because otherwise Nick Baker wouldn't have this crazy show, Weird Creatures. Season 1 of Weird Creatures with Nick Baker. It's basically the Croc Hunter all over again. It's Steve Irwin all over again. And he doesn't take quite the same chances, but honestly, dude, seriously, don't do what you're doing. This is really dangerous. He goes to crazy places, and he looks for just unbelievably obnoxious animals and vampire. Here are the episodes. I'm just going to read this to you, Mark. Tell me if this is something you want to show to your kids, because I think like a father now, right? Vampire fish, yes, no,
yeah,
good for
that's
kids?
cute.
Okay. Blood squirting lizard,
not so much.
Basking shark.
Well, I'll stare at them in a tank.
Okay, you're going to love the next one. Pink fairy armadillo.
Oh, that's probably the deadliest of the bunch.
Actually, not. That's what's on the cover of the DVD. That's the picture. That's the pink fairy armadillo.
You know
right there.
what?
Does that look like a pink fairy to you?
If that armadillo knew he was called the pink fairy armadillo, he'd be very
pissed
upset.
off. Saggy skinned frog.
Wait, don't we have more DVDs to talk about than every single?
Okay, star-nosed mole and the croc from Mars. There you go.
And the Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars?
Exactly.
All right, Without a Trace, Season 6, rolling along. This is the show just keeps moving along.
It does.
I
We
don't get
plug
it.
along like a little choo-choo train.
Like a little pink fairy armadillo.
Exactly.
The CD just keeps going. However, it does give Anthony LaPaglia work, and I think that's a good thing, because I like him. Anyway, in this season, Vivian's got to locate the serial killer who is involved in a sex trafficking ring, which happened in the previous season. And, that's kind of the main thrust of it. But if you like the other 17,000 seasons of this thing, then I guess you'll like this one. This is Season 6 of Without a Trace. Absolutely no extras, because what's the point? Because in a few months, it'll just be Season 7.
There you go. Agreed. All right, Mark, it is time for... There you go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do it.
Okay.
Get some.
I lost it. Fox.
Hey, Wade and Mark, it's Lance again, the mystical man himself. Cool about Cavalcade. No, I don't think I had anything to do with that. But anyhow, so I guess my next topic to tackle, the next film I'll hope to come out is actually it's 3 films. It would be the James Dean collection on Blu-ray. Now I heard that these were coming out early 2013. What's the deal? Are we getting Rebel Without a Cause and Giant and East of Eden on Blu-ray soon? Warner Brothers said early 2013, and well, I don't have them in my collection yet, so what's the deal with that?
Lance Taylor, excellent question. Mark, isn't that an outstanding question?
It is, and the good thing is that if there's a James Dean like super box set someday, it would only include 3 films.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of television you could include. You know, he did quite a bit of television before he became a movie star. But here's the thing. The studios will the answer to the question is we have no idea. And Warner, the Warner publicists that we know, they have no idea either. I mean, truly, it's just like an echo chamber over there. It's like just once something disappears down the rabbit hole, it's just gone. The information cannot be squozed out. What's the correct conjugation? Squozed?
I think it's squizzled, squam wham.
Squizzled. We have no idea. They will oftentimes release, send out these early releases where they'll say coming in blah 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 blah. But I'll tell you, I get emails all the time where a release date has been changed like 4 weeks before it's actually going to be released. They'll bump it a week or 2, or sometimes they'll push it a month. Usually, those are smaller distributors where they just can't get the manufacturing up and running, or they just don't have the cash flow to actually buy the blank stock of discs, or for whatever reason, or there'll be an audio commentary that comes in badly, or there'll be a mistake in the menus or the credits. I mean, weird things happen even at the studio level. In this case, I have absolutely no idea. It's just one of those things where they announced it and then it's just gone. And there was an MGM release of the David Lean collection years ago. It was a big deal. It was like 8 or 9 films, and it was big, all his black and white stuff, right? Then it was literally yanked, and it has never come back because there was a question as to whether or not they even had the rights to some of those films. Which you'd think, wouldn't an attorney actually get on the ball and make sure that and vet these press releases beforehand and vet the process even before they undertake it? You just never know. So, I have no idea what's holding up those films. Warner Brothers owns all those films. They have high-def masters of all those films. There's really no reason for them to not be able to release that Blu-ray set right now, other than they don't think the timing's right.
You know what? If those films wind up on some video archive streaming thing, Warner on Demand kind of a situation, that'd be embarrassing for them. Yeah. Because those films deserve to be out in the full-blown super set.
Well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have those films in Blu-ray. And Giant especially, because Giant, is not a widescreen film. George Stevens bucked the trend at the time and said, I don't care, I want to shoot this movie in 1:3:3. And he did. He shot it, he made it an old school 1:3:3 film, like in the old pre-1956 days. And so that would be interesting to see that in Blu-ray. But I have no idea. I don't know what's going on over there. I've asked, I've inquired. Nobody has any idea.
Really, no one respects you.
Well, I mean, they don't know. They don't know. Nobody in the PR, they have no idea. They know they released it, and then it was pulled from the schedule for reasons that nobody understands. And I'm assuming it's got to. I mean, if you announced it last year, it was like December when they sent that release out. They've got to release it, by December, right? You can't go that long without at least explaining yourselves. But maybe they will. I don't know. Good question. We have no answer. That's the long answer to a short question.
Let's keep going, Wade.
All right, let's keep going. You know what, Mark? I'll tell you. Ninja 3: The Domination. I know you're laughing, but this is Shout Factory has released this through their Scream Factory line, and it's on Blu-ray now. Ninja 3: The Domination. The Ninja series of films were just classic schlock from Canon. Golan Globus, Menachem Golan, and Yoram Globus, when they were just doing all their stuff, and they were really these films were just ridiculous, and they were all directed by Sam Furstenberg, and they all starred Sho Kosugi, who is not a ninja. He kind of fancies himself a modern-day ninja, but they just all were schlocky, really bad martial arts movies. But this one in particular I'm fond of. And do you know why I'm fond of this one?
Because
in addition to Shokasugi, it stars Lucinda Dickey. Now, Lucinda Dickey, also not a martial artist, but Lucinda Dickey I'm fond of because Lucinda Dickey was also in Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
And, that movie is that's like everyone's favorite sequel of all time. So any opportunity to put Lucinda Dickey in another movie, even if she's not dancing, here she's like wielding a sword and being all badass, I'm okay with it. Lucinda Dickey, an icon of the 1980s, and I don't even know what's happened to her. She just vanished. She vanished off the planet after like 1989. Just gone. No more Lucinda Dickey. What's she doing? Talk about that movie. I'm going to look up Lucinda Dickey.
Wade, now you think that the Philadelphia experiment that I'm staring at is the 1980s Philadelphia experiment. Actually, this is a remake of the 1980s Philadelphia experiment.
Really?
Yes. Which this thing co-stars Michael Paré, who I think was in the original.
Yeah, he was.
Malcolm McDowell and Ryan Robbins. The Philadelphia experiment was a cool movie in the 80s about... in 1943, there was supposedly a secret government experiment to create a cloaking device that would make a warship disappear. And it didn't work, or did it?
So this is not the 1984 film?
No.
Okay.
This is a Starz Anchor Bay production from 2012.
Oh.
Now, wild.
And they put Michael Paré in it again.
They did. It's probably the last thing. You know what? Let's do an IMDb on Michael Paré and see if this is the last. See if the last film he's done was not the original Philadelphia experiment from like 25 years earlier. I mean, that guy's been around forever.
Weird.
Well, he works. Anyway, so
He works.
He works. He does stuff. what can I tell you? Anyway, I've always thought this was like a cool idea for a movie. I do. I think it's cool. Why not? Come on. Anyway, so is this better than the original? It's better than the original in the effects. I don't know if it's better than the original in the effect of the film on your psyche, on your soul. On that one, the original is cooler. Anyway, Philadelphia Experiment, the new one. I would do a double feature. I would compare and contrast. Although I have to say that Malcolm McDowell, God, that guy Malcolm McDowell has become the Donald Pleasance of our time. Where he was a good actor at some point, like, Donald Pleasance, Great Escape, all sorts of good movies. And then Donald Pleasance just became like just a B-movie guy. Malcolm McDowell kind of becoming that guy. Same with Ben Kingsley. Did a lot of good work. Now they do a lot of crap.
I know. McDowell, it's sad.
And he's in this now. Anyway, I would go with the original.
Check this out. Lucinda Dickey. Are you ready for this?
No.
This is why we do this. She in the 1980s, she made Grease 2. She was in Grease 2, just a small part as a girl greaser. Then she did Breakin'. Then she did Ninja 3. Then she did Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. Gotta love it. Then she did Cheerleader Camp. And then in 1990, she was on some Perry Mason TV movie, like barely in the movie, and then she just went away. I mean, that's it. She hasn't been heard of. However, do you know who her husband is?
Michael Paré.
Craig Peligian?
I know that name.
He's one of the executive producers of Survivor.
Really?
She doesn't need to work. She doesn't need to work.
That show's been on for like 16 seasons or something.
Yeah, she's just a mom. She's got 2 kids.
That's great. All right, keep going. That's
I
great.
like that.
That's a great story.
That's fascinating. Anyway,
that's
all right,
story.
never mind.
All right, keep talking about stuff.
Junk and stuff. We'll get into junk and stuff. Okay, got a bunch of interesting titles here from VCI. VCI always digs up interesting library titles, and this is the stuff that makes America really proud when you go overseas. People go like, "Don't you have hillbillies in your country?" And you go, "Yeah, we're the place that has hillbillies," and we actually celebrated our hillbilliness with not only a television series but with comic strips and movies. And the Beverly Hillbillies, of course, is the one everyone thinks of. But back in the day, we had some really, really bad kind of Elvis Presley era hillbilly movies, exploitation films that you gotta love. 1966, Las Vegas Hillbillies. Oh yeah, Mark, come on.
Oh
give
yeah,
give it up for Las Vegas. Las Vegas Hillbillies.
Jane Mansfield. Maybe Van Doren. Stop that.
And Richard Kiel.
Stop that. Richard Keel.
Plays a hillbilly. No, seriously, Richard Keel. Look at the picture on the back, the big hillbilly. In the middle, Richard Keel. I'm a hillbilly. It's great. It's fantastic.
Richard Keel was Jaws in the James Bond films.
Yeah. Actually, the thing about this is there's a lot of really great songs in this. Del Reeves and Bill Anderson and Wilma Burgess. There's some fun songs in here and fun performances. It's a cheesy film, but it's a good-natured film, and it's fine. Now, the following year, they came out with Hillbillys in a Haunted House.
Obviously, they know that's stupid. It has Lon Chaney in it and Basil Rathbone.
And Ferlin Husky, who was in the previous one, is in this one. Unfortunately, you don't get Jane Mansfield and Mamie Van Doren. You just get Ferlin Husky, and of course, Ferlin Husky, big star. John Carradine is in here. Merle Haggard shows up. Basil Rathbone shows up. This is what people were doing when suddenly you can't get work anymore. You do these weird, crazy exploitation films. This thing is an absolute riot. I don't know if they meant for it to be funny in the way that it's funny, but it's pretty stupid. And it's really a riot. And Merle Haggard, he just shows up. He just makes the best of it. Figures, you know what, I can't hurt my brand. I might as well let people know I'm there. And the monkey costume the ape costumes, the best thing ever. Absolutely the best thing ever.
You're out of your mind.
And then lastly of these crazy things is Lil Abner. Lil Abner. This was back when they thought, we gotta get onto this superhero bandwagon, and this was the original comic strip superhero movie. You know that, right?
Abner?
Lil Abner.
What?
Yeah, 1940.
What?
I'm being
Are
silly.
you trying to see if I'm paying attention?
I'm trying to see if you're paying attention a little bit. Yeah. No, 1940 Lil Abner, they made it into a movie. Go figure. It was a hugely popular comic strip at the time, I guess. But, is the movie any good? I don't know. It's kind of weird, sort of embarrassing. You feel like everybody's... I don't know. It's weird, man. It's just creepy. It's kind of creepy seeing people try to be comic characters. And it's not like it's a comic book. Like every week, Lil Abner was just 5 or 6 frames. It's not like it justifies a movie, but whatever.
Wade, a controversial and very highly recommended release right now from the good folks at Kino Lorber, Scum. They're saying Scum. Oh my God,
great.
That sounds ridiculous.
This is the Alan Clark movie.
This is the Alan Clark movie. Now, this is a controversial film because it's all about like racism and sexism and suicide and rape and violence and horribleness at British reform schools. But the controversy became this thing was originally made for the BBC in 1977, and the BBC thought the thing was so intense and so unpleasant and so violent that they decided not to show it. And so the director reshot some of it and then released it as a feature film. And it came out in 1979, and it's great. It's called Scum, and it's got a great cast, and it's very intense, and it's really good stuff. I mean, this isn't, there was a lot of movies at the time about British, education, movies like If and whatnot, and that's sort of that thing. This, with Ray Winstone, is a very intense take on it. Ray Winstone does a audio commentary on it, and there's an interview with the producers, interview with the writer, and also the EP. It's a really intense movie. It's Alan Clark directed it, and I cannot recommend highly enough Scum. Although I have to say that I wish they had come up with a better name, because the moment you go to the store or Redbox or whatever,
you don't want to. Yeah, it's not something you want to take
home. Scum. I'm looking for Scum. You have Scum? Hey guy, you got Scum?
And you go home from the Redbox and you go, honey, I brought us a movie this evening. I brought Scum home. Let's throw some Scum in the TV.
I rented some Scum. Honey, I rented Scum. Yeah, see, that's kind of lame. But so maybe you should rent this on Netflix or something. But anyway, highly recommended. A very controversial piece of 70s British TV and movie history. So there you go. Scum, good stuff. Highly recommended.
Awesome. We got some Olive releases. Olive doing great work licensing stuff from the Paramount Library and others. And the one here that is not from the Paramount Library is the one that I want to talk about most. It's from 2010. It's a co-production between Ireland and Finland. Go figure, right? Ireland and Finland. Who decided that was an arrangement? But Ireland puts a lot of money into their own homegrown movies, which is a good thing because otherwise these movies wouldn't get made. This is a first-time director named Dara Byrne. Dara, D-A-R-R-A-G-H. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. My Irish grandmother will haunt me forever if I'm mispronouncing it. And the story, it's this really great. Colm Meaney is such a freaking awesome actor. He usually just shows up in bit roles and supporting roles, usually playing, like a bartender or a gangster. And here, this is a great role for him. Wonderful independent film, shot, by the way, in a beautiful, super widescreen anamorphic, really nice. He's a guy who lives in his car and meets another guy, and he's just kind of, he's like a homeless guy, free spirit, bit of a vagrant, and then all of it changes when he meets a woman.
Aww.
And it's you think, oh, it's one of those things. Guy wants to turn his life around and make himself worthy, but not really. It's just really it's a wonderful part for Colm Meaney, and if you're a fan of Colm Meaney, you're just going to love this movie. It's on Blu-ray, and I recommend it on Blu-ray just for the photography alone. Just that wonderful poetic Irish photography. Also, from the Paramount library now, 3 films that Olive continues to mine, these really terrific movies that Paramount apparently has no interest in doing anything with. This is Humphrey Bogart, man, in The Enforcer. Not one of the top tier Humphrey Bogart movies necessarily, but here he's not a gangster; he's the DA, and it's a good, solid kind of quasi noir from 1951, just kind of at the tail end of the golden period for these noir films. Zero Mostel shows up here, gives a terrific performance. It's really kind of good, hard-boiled, gritty movie. A lot of guys wearing fedoras and double-breasted suits. Fun stuff, Again, not the top tier of the Humphrey Bogart movies of that sort, but pretty damn good. And then Irving Peikel. Didn't you have an Irving Peikel story?
What?
Director Irving Peikel. I thought you had some. Okay, maybe I'm forgetting that. Well, anyway. 1948.
You're crazy.
I thought you had an Irving Peikel story. Anyway, director Irving Peikel in 1948 made the movie The Miracle of the Bells with Fred MacMurray and Frank Sinatra. And, of course, in that era you can't have 2 guys without a girl, so they throw Alida Valli in here. As an actress, by the way, with bizarre names, Olga Treskovna. I don't know who thought that one up. Anyway, you know what? It's really interesting. Fascinating script here, unusual for the time. Kind of a sort of a melodrama, but you can't really have a melodrama with Fred MacMurray. That guy always kind of dials everything down to a really great place. And whether it's The Apartment, whether it's Double Indemnity, people just, everybody always thinks of I grew up with Fred MacMurray as being the guy on My 3 Sons. And
that show sucked.
And then you discover, oh my gosh, this guy was a real actor. He made real movies. He nailed it. He was great. That's just what he did, when he needed some spending, some vacation money later in his life. But the guy really made some great movies. Anyway, Sinatra plays a priest here, which is a stretch that you can't even comprehend by a million years. But really, the idea of Fred MacMurray is this press agent who makes a deathbed promise to a friend. Fascinating story. Goes off in a really interesting place, and not at all the melodrama that you might expect it to be. And then lastly, a Joseph Kane-directed movie called Hoodlum Empire from 1952. Again, right at the kind of that transitional period, a little tail end of the golden age of noir. And this is kind of a middling gangster film with some really, really good performances in it by some actors who weren't really A-list actors, but they turn in some great performances here. Brian Donlevy, Claire Trevor, bigger actress, of course, than the others. Forrest Tucker, didn't get a lot of great movie roles here. He gets something that's way better than F Troop or Ghostbusters, which are the things.
There is nothing better than F Troop.
No, I love F Troop, but Forrest Tucker was not a film actor, Vera Ralston, Luther Adler, John Russell, some decent stuff there in that one. And that's it for the Olive titles. And then
any movies? What's
well,
coming out? Wait, I'm falling asleep here.
Yeah, we got a few. But this week classic title stuff.
Okay, fine.
And then we got a bunch of double features here. Really quickly, I'm going to go through these. These are all double features from Mill Creek. They're all Blu-ray double features, very affordable. If you want to get a couple of movies for very little money and kind of impress your friends with how good high definition is, they're not bad transfers at all. They're really pretty decently done. This one, there's always a ringer in here. The Brotherhood of Satan, not really that well worth watching. Mr. Sardonicus, much more interesting film. Mr. Sardonicus is the that's kind of a classic William Castle movie that has held the test of time. And then we have here The Nines and Slipstream, the Anthony Hopkins film. Anthony Hopkins' Slipstream is just crazy. It's impossible to watch. It'll blow your mind. It might be good to have on in the background. The Nines, a much more interesting kind of intellectual science fiction film with Ryan Reynolds and Hope Davis, which was actually edited by a friend of mine and did a great job. I'm very proud of him. Then we have In the Cut and Trapped. If you want to see, women in jeopardy, Meg Ryan and In the Cut, which is a Jane Campion film that kind of misses the mark, but it's an interesting performance from Meg Ryan. And then Trapped, of course, has Charlize Theron and Courtney Love together again for the first time, along with Stuart Townsend and Kevin Bacon. And Charlize Theron and Stuart Townsend still an item, were they? Are they still?
I don't know. I feel like for the average gossip-loving person, they're now too old to care about.
Probably. Okay.
They're over 34.
This is a weird pairing, but for people who like the old tough guy era of the 1970s, probably just fine. Sean Connery in the Anderson tapes, still trying to maintain a little bit of the James Bond mystique, and Burt Reynolds and Teresa Russell in Physical Evidence, back when Burt Reynolds actually was able to get starring roles. A couple of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies here, Universal Soldier: The Return and Second Command. Two horrible movies, but Van Damme fans will not care because all he needs to do is say, "I'm Van Dammage," and I guess they swoon.
They're remaking Time Cop.
I know, that's stupid.
I like Time Cop.
That's crazy. That's nuts. Why would they do that?
I don't know. It seems like it wasn't that unique of an idea that they can't just make something original instead.
I guess. Anyway, and then the last of these are a couple of movies I had never heard of, but I guess these things have a following: Anatomy and Anatomy 2. Are you familiar with this Anatomy series, Mark?
I am not.
It's very strange. Anyway, a bit of a cult following for these films, and they sort of belong to that weird, I don't know, they're somewhere between like the Human Centipede and the Saw films. They're like, in that, I guess this all really comes on the heels of Nip Tuck on television. All these movies are just sort of all about fetishizing the malformed and mutilated human body in its living form in some way. Anyway, Anatomy and Anatomy 2, both on a Blu-ray double feature, and definitely rated R here, but pretty well photographed films, I gotta say. Creepy, but well done on that genre level. All right, that's it for my little stack here.
Wade, here's not a bad DVD or Blu-ray I want to bring up because not that anyone will ever rent this or buy this who listens to this podcast, but it really wasn't that bad. It's a movie called The Man Who Shook the Hand of Vicente Fernandez, and it's sort of a career-capping performance by Ernest Borgnine.
This is his last film.
Was this actually his last film?
This was his actual last film, yeah.
It's really not bad. It's about it's about a guy who was a radio DJ, and he always wanted to be like a John Wayne type movie cowboy. And while he's recovering at a nursing home, he winds up sort of, in a way, living his Western cowboy movie dream. And that's all I'll say about it because it's kind of charming and it's really kind of interesting. It's got a funny opening credit sequence. And so I kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of interesting. But again, it's with Ernest Borgnine. His last film, as Wade says. It also has Dale Dickey in it and June Squibb and a bunch of other people that I've never heard of. But that's okay because they're all cute in a movie called The Man Who Shook the Hand of Vicente Fernandez.
Nice.
As a good victory lap for Ernest Borgnine.
Cool. Speaking of the Human Centipede, if you wanted to take an art film approach to kind of to sort of something similar, and I'm making a segue that makes no sense whatsoever, until you've seen Upstream Color. Did you see Upstream Color? This thing got a very strange, Cinedime, which is the new company from Chris McGurk, who previously was the guy who ran
Bank of America.
Overture.
Okay.
Overture. Remember we went to the Overture party and he was there shaking everybody's hand
yeah.
as we walked into his house.
And
Wonderful guy.
Well,
Cinedime's his new company. Cinedime, of course, acquired the Docurama and new video libraries, and they're trying to pioneer a whole new paradigm. And Cinedime really upset a lot of people recently when they released a film. I'm sorry, when they started promoting one of their films on one of the piracy sites. right? And a lot of people felt like they had gone over to the dark side. Anyway, they're looking for one of the things about Cinedigm is they're looking to really pioneer new ways of releasing independent films and making money back that just blows up the distribution paradigm. So anyway, Upstream Color had an interesting combination of cable and theatrical and they the festival exposure, and they're really trying to find a way to sort of squeeze every dime out with some unconventional distribution thinking. Interesting packaging here, too. It's a really eye-catching digipack for the film Upstream Color, which is from Shane Carruth, who wrote and directed Primer. And Primer was like a really, really big independent.
I like Primer.
Primer's great. Primer's a terrific film. And this didn't get the same attention as Primer, obviously, because it's a much more obscure film. But what's interesting is that Carruth didn't say, hey, I had a hit with Primer. Now I'm going to go direct a Marvel superhero movie. He just said, great, now I'm going to use my capital, and I'm going to do something that nobody would otherwise greenlight. And this is about two people. Shane Carruth plays one of them. He co-stars in the film with Amy Seimetz, who basically become like one being in this weird kind of illusory, hypnotic process. And it's kind of a dream. It's kind of a romance. It's kind of surreal, and it's kind of a poem at the same time. And it's a fascinating film. It was at the 2013 Sundance Film Festival as well. And it's really an interesting film. There's almost no way to describe it. I hope this means that Carruth will make other things going forward. This is really a unique movie, and I do recommend that people take a look at this. At least rent it. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo pack in just a beautiful digipack packaging. And on top of everything else, I've got to salute Cinedigm for basically doing really interesting original work to get an otherwise unconventional film out there and to make some dollars with it. So it didn't get a big release or anything, but it's really worthwhile checking out.
Whee!
All right, Mark, that does it. We are done, and you're a man about town today, aren't you?
I am. I'm taking my sax lesson now. I'm a lifelong intermediate sax player, and I'm trying to learn more about music theory.
Yes.
Because then I'll become better.
Music theory?
Yes. Like your Mixolydians and your Dorians and your minors and your dominant sevens and your.
You're gonna be trying out for the Tonight Show. By the way, the old Tonight Show drummer from the.
He
Doc
died a couple weeks ago.
I know.
I know.
Okay, just want to bring that up. Anyway, so good deal. Well, enjoy your sax lesson, and we will be back next week with more fun, foam, and frolic.